Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. Here we are. I don't have a good intro.
I know. We never talk about like who should start or do anything. So we just stare at each other for a few seconds
and wait for the telepathy. I will say, just like a precursor to the Vanderpump stuff, I don't know if like Lala and her IVF journey, or I guess it wasn't IVF, but pregnancy journey has just gotten into my mind. But I had a dream that I was going through IVF through Walmart.
Oh.
And
well, honestly, though, why haven't they gotten on that? It'd be cheaper.
There has to be a demographic that would go for that.
Can you imagine getting your sperm from
Walmart? It's in a fridge in the bag. I had to wait in line, and then I had to go up to a counter, and then I'm like, okay, I don't think it worked. Like, I don't feel pregnant. And like, my dad was on board with it. He's like, no, you have to believe that like this one worked. And then I had to go back and again, wait in line and go up. And then they're like, you're not pregnant. And then I had to be like, do I want to try it again? But I was in a Walmart.
I think you probably should have just went somewhere else if it didn't work.
I should have just found somebody off the street. It would have been easier.
They're like, no, or you get there just as they're opening and they lift the gate thing all the way up like a garage door.
There's a line of people already waiting. Yeah, I just was like, first of all, I don't like go to Walmart all the time, so I don't know why that even was the shopping
you worried
store.
About the prices that they like that? So you're hoping it would be everyday low prices? Yeah.
And I don't think I'd ever be able to afford IVF. So, I mean, yeah, maybe. Or maybe it was some type of premonition. Like Walmart is going to be doing it. Start like pregnancy planning and pregnancy services. That would be crazy.
That would be.
But also funny. Or like, would you, like, if it was like a sperm bank type thing, would they have a book and would they have to all be like Walmart customers? Or like, how would that work?
No comment.
I just thought it was weird and I had to share. And then I woke up and I'm just like, I don't even want that to be my life. Like, why was that on my mind?
I know. Don't you hate that when you have a dream like that and you're like, no.
Yes.
No.
But it kind of freaks you out a little bit because my dad was in it.
I know. You're like, wait, we were all okay with all this?
Yeah.
I know. So I hate when dreams are like that and you're like, but I know.
I
wouldn't do this.
I know. Or when dreams are just so real where you think that you did have that conversation with that person or you did get that text or something. Like, that is crazy.
Then you like wake up and you're like feeling weird. And then it's like or like sometimes I have dreams where I'm like really fighting with somebody and then I wake up and I'm like,
you're mad a little bit.
Oh, she shouldn't have did that. Then you have to like reason with yourself and be like,
talk yourself down.
That never happened. They didn't actually do that. I know.
It's so weird. And then other times you don't dream at all.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
I know. Or they say you always do, but you don't remember it. But I don't believe that.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what do you mean I don't remember it?
Or what is it? Like, sometimes is it just like colors and, images, like not really like a full story dream or, I don't know. Interesting. I used to have the stress dreams where my teeth would break off and fall out.
See, I never really had teeth dreams. I would always have them like back in high school, can't get my locker open.
Oh, yeah.
Or like I don't know my schedule and I like keep screwing. Or like if you're packing
and you forget something.
And you like keep packing and packing and packing for hours.
Those are bad.
I hate those dreams.
I had another one recently. This was just kind of like gross. It was about ants. Like I kept just finding ants everywhere in the house, like the tiny ones.
Yeah.
But I know why I thought that, because we had a little infestation at work. And so that was just permeating my dreams. But that's like creepy, because when we found it at work, like it was on carpet and the ants kind of blended in. And I like thought I saw something moving, and I went down to look at it, and I'm like, oh my God, it's ants. So like seeing that in a dream is almost like surreal and creepy.
Or like, or sometimes something will happen so small and minute in the middle of the day, and it'll be your whole dream.
Yeah.
And like, that makes sense that you'd have a dream about ants, but then, you know, if I had the dream about ants, to be like, where did that even come from?
Yeah, like you saw them on the sidewalk.
Right.
And then all of a sudden.
Right. And then they say you can't make up people in your dreams. Like, it's always based off to somebody else's face.
Oh, people that you know.
Yeah, or like somebody
you've seen before.
And I'm like, huh? Like, I don't know. I feel like I could make up somebody's face right now.
I know. Like,
can join people.
But I don't know, because I guess...
I know there's sometimes when I'm like listening to books and you're like picturing the person, they don't really have like a distinct face.
No, you're right. Or do they?
I know. It's like, do they? Or sometimes like some characters, I'll like picture them cartoony.
Yeah.
And then some are like realistic.
Yeah, depending on the book or the story. Yeah. That is funny. Because sometimes, like with those fantasy ones, I feel like it could go either way.
Literally. Or like some of the characters are and some aren't, but yet they're still existing
in the same world.
Literally.
That's funny.
It was funny.
The Met Gala is this weekend. And I mean, I always get excited for it, even though I feel like it does... sometimes it's kind of a letdown, I guess.
Yeah, there's been some really good years, and then some like,
Just because I like that there's a theme, and I get really pissed off when people don't follow the theme.
Right.
And so, and I feel like recently I've been a little unclear. Like the past couple years, like... Because was it 2 years ago when it was camp, or was that longer?
Oh, that was longer.
Oh my God.
And there was the one that I didn't, it was some kind of American.
The Americana.
Yeah. And it was like just everybody was all over the place.
But then isn't this one like an extension of that too?
I can't remember.
I think it is. So it's, I don't like, because I get confused on the year. I thought last year was the like Americana one, wasn't it? But I don't know, because
no, that was the Carl.
Oh wait,
was
right.
that last year?
I don't know.
I feel like
years all meld together. I feel like you're right. It was the Karl Lagerfeld, and maybe the Americana one was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that seems right. And
or maybe it's flip-flopped. I don't know. I can't remember when, because it was when Blake Lively had her dress.
Yes.
I can't remember when. And I just saw a TikTok about that too, and it was talking about like their first Met Gala versus the last one that they've been to. And some of them I was scrolling through and I'm like, oh my God, that was 2019. Like the years just get so muddled.
I know.
It's frustrating. But I am excited just because it's always fun to see everybody dressed up and look through all the fashion pictures.
Yeah, I do like to do that.
But it is frustrating because...
I'm going to look up what the...
Yeah, please do. Because like they've changed it so much recently where it's so influencer-y, and I feel like
it's Sleeping Beauty's reawakening fashion, while the dress code is the Garden of Time.
Okay.
We'll see what everyone does.
We'll see how people interpret. When was the Americana one? Look that up. But it's just like back in the day when we were like fully obsessed with this kind of stuff.
I know.
It just felt like things were more elite and special, and to get on the guest list, it was such a big deal. And now it just feels like, because TikTokers and all these other people are being invited to these types of things, people that are bigger names like don't even want to go.
I know.
And that annoys me. And then also, how many back and forths are we going to get with Taylor? It's like she's not going, then she's going. Now she's not going again.
I know. That was in 2022 in America in Anthology of Fashion.
Okay. And then last year must have been the Karl Lagerfeld.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
All right. So we were a little muddled there, but close enough.
I loved that one so much where they did the like Catholic
Heavenly Bodies. Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. That was
incredible.
so good.
Everybody looked amazing.
I know.
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay. Yeah, I loved Heavenly Bodies.
Oh, and then in 2021, 2022 was the first 2-part exhibition.
That was the Americana thing. It was a double. Okay.
Now the more you know.
I know. Just in case anybody else was a little confused. So Sleeping Beauties.
Well, that would make sense that it felt like there was like a weird lull.
Well, and I mean, not to say this all the time, but it's just like COVID seriously did just
distort everything.
All sense of time.
It really
completely. I mean, sometimes I don't even know like how old I am or anything, or like when did that happen again? Like I seriously, I can't. So, and I never felt like that before.
No, I felt like I knew when the years were.
Yeah, or even like stuff like this, it would be like, no, that was 2007.
Right,
like
it's like I'd be naming stuff
Yeah. Now I don't have any clue.
No, and I feel like so much with like celebrities were going on.
Yes.
Like, just all of it. The scandal, Harvey Weinstein. It's like everybody was getting canceled and it just all got so confusing. Then you're like, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to like that person anymore because they did this.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to.
So much was happening like every other month.
I know. Someone was getting canceled and... Anyway.
Yeah, it was just a tumultuous time.
It sure was.
Did you see that thing on TikTok? And it was also a topic on Juicy Scoop on Tuesday where it was, would you leave or would you rather be in the woods alone with a man that you don't know or a bear?
I've started seeing some of that.
So, did you listen to Juicy Scoop?
Not today.
Okay, so I had snapped
yesterday.
you about something that kind of irked me about that, but that's a conversation for a different time. Still love Heather McDonald. It was something that the guest said that really annoyed me. But with this too, Heather brought it up and she was saying how like men just like don't understand like fear that women feel. And she was saying how sometimes with her husband, like I think it was when like Me Too stuff or whatever happened and her husband would be like, if that happened to me, like I would just go right to the police or, whoever the next day. And
like,
she said,
that's nice to get believed.
Right. And she said to him, she's like, when is the last time that you felt fear?
Right.
And she's like, probably like 11, like when you're a kid. And her husband, she said he's like, 6'2", 6'3", whatever, white male.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're not going to feel fear. And then she said sometimes with her sons who are older, if there's like somebody that might be looking a little bit shady or unsavory coming towards them on the street, she might say like, hey, let's cross to the other side. And then her sons might be like, oh, Mom, like, seriously. And she's like, you don't get it. Like, but it is seriously like, I mean, I don't let that consume my life or anything. Right. But I just feel like that is something that men don't think about all the time.
Right. Or even that thing where they're like, what would you do if there were no men on Earth? I'd walk around at night, like in the dark.
We could go on runs whenever we want.
Like, can you imagine having like a stroll through the
to
evening
look at the stars?
air?
Yeah, like I know. Or to be in a parking garage at like 10 o'clock and not feel like, oh my God, I have to get in my car right now. Yeah, like, I mean, seriously. And so then on the TikToks, they had posed it to their husbands who have daughters. And they're like, hey, would you leave little baby Anne in the woods with a bear or a strange man you didn't know? And the one guy I saw, he's like, well, I mean, the options with a bear would be it kills her where it doesn't. But the options with the strange man are way more and way more sinister. And then the TikTok I saw before we started recording was all these things that was like a bear would never like say I can scream as loud as I want and I'll never see my family. A bear would never say, and it was all these things that like,
and they were like, I can expect a bear to act like a bear.
Yeah, right? Or like nobody's going to ask, well, what were you wearing when a bear attacked you? Or nobody's going to not believe you that you were attacked by a bear. Like, and it on the episode of Juicy Scoop, the guest was like, no, you choose bear attack or you choose the strange man because you can die with the bear. And it's like, but the trauma that you can also be left with is so much great. Like some of the things that some women have experienced by the hands of psychotic men, I would rather die. I mean, I know that's such a dramatic thing to say, but to live through that horrific trauma, I mean, that's just, I can't even imagine it.
I know when I was listening to this, the Dak Shepard side podcast thing where he's not hosting it, blah, blah, and they were talking about like true crime stuff. And they were talking about how it's, true crime content is consumed so much more by women. And it's like, well, why is that? Well, because it's so much in our reality.
Yeah, that's true.
That it's like I don't know if we think we're being prepared or if we've heard it all and it like desensitizes, or like we're trying to desensitize ourselves to it and everything. And I had listened to Elizabeth Smart's book and I mean, even the stuff she was saying, and I was just thinking like, how scary would it be? Like even with JC Dugard that I listened to the other day.
Yeah.
To be with these psycho, or like these just absolutely, and he kept saying stuff about his like religion and this is what God wants me to do. And it's like, can you imagine like being in that situation with a person who is just saying all these insane things like that? And you're like, oh my God. And she's like, I would just be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And how manipulated do you get?
And she literally told herself, she's like, well, they're older than me. They are going to die first. And then once they're dead, I will be free. And just like everything she went through with him was just so awful. And he would do that. He would be like, I am going to kill your family if you say, because there was she saw the helicopters that were looking for her. She heard what she thought was her uncle, but there was 100% somebody calling her name. And he's like, I will kill your whole family. I will kill.
And you believe it.
Yeah. It's like, how are you not supposed to? He already took you at knife point. It's like, and doing all these horrible things to you. It's like, why would you not believe him? She's like, so I was quiet.
Yeah. Or, we have the situations where, people are in relationships and everything seems fine and they're so in love. And then all of a sudden, oh no, that was a lie.
She's done like Chris Watts and Scheana.
It's like, what? I mean, you know what to expect from a bear.
Right. You expect a bear to act like a bear.
Yeah. Like, it's just, I thought that was just kind of an interesting. We consume a lot of things on TikTok that are stupid, but like that actually is like a very thought-provoking and true thing to think about and to make people aware of, and hopefully to make some men aware of. And like, the thing that annoyed me with the guest that was on Juicy Scoop is she's like, I travel alone all the time and I do things and you can't live in fear. Well, no. I don't live in fear.
Right.
I do things myself all the time too. I'm
Right.
like aware, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm a single woman, like doing
Right.
these things. But like if I had to choose a situation
Right.
with a strange man I don't know to be left in
Right.
the woods for who knows how long, or a bear, I would rather take my chances that the bear's not going to maul me.
Right.
You know,
be a quick death.
or at least I could like maybe somehow hide or fight off a bear.
Right. I know. Even when I don't get super nervous by myself that often, but if I'm by myself with both my kids, I'm like, I'm only one. Like, I'm like, what if I could only protect the one?
Oh
like,
my God.
I mean, makes me, I mean, even if I just go do something like in the city that's near me, it's like, I have to know where I'm going to park.
Mm-hmm.
I have to like literally talk myself down if my kids are going to be with me. Cause I'm like, if I am alone and I can't protect, you know.
But that's such an extra layer too, because with the kids that are your kids' ages now, they're younger.
Right.
Like if you're already vulnerable, but then say like one of them is already having a bad day.
Right.
And then you're distracted by that too. And then you're even more vulnerable because you're not like looking out for things like you should, and people pay attention to that stuff.
I know, and it's like even when I go to the grocery, if it's just me and the kids, if I go to the grocery store, it's like I make my one kid that's older just get in. I don't buckle him yet. I go around, get the other one buckled, lock the door, come back around, buckle the other one, lock the door, put my groceries away, and then I get myself in, lock the door, because it's just like, I just always think, I'm like, if they're locked in there, there's a better chance that they're going to be safe.
Right. I mean, it's so sad that we have to think about those things.
Know.
And, you know, I don't think that, like, I don't know what your husband does, but I just feel like men don't think of it to that extent because they don't have to.
Right. And it's like, obviously stuff does happen to men too, but it's like, they're not gonna, you know, like you were saying earlier, like the trauma of like sexual assaults and living through that. I mean, just, some of the stuff you've heard women survive. You're just like, oh my gosh.
I know. It's like almost incomprehensible. Like, how do you even make it through that?
Right. And then just be like, oh my gosh, I'm still alive. Like that one girl, I can't remember her name, where they like slit her throat a ton of times, cut her stomach.
Trigger warning.
Sorry. We always do that. Blood everywhere. Yeah, definitely trigger warning. And then she like is like, I'm still alive. And like gets up and she's like, I can't see anything. And her head was like, so she's like holding her head, holding her intestines in, and it was like just somebody. And well, then like another man came and like saved her. But it was like, holy crap. Like I can't imagine going through that and then being like, I'm alive.
Right.
Get up.
I think I would probably just think I was dead, you know?
It's like, why am I not dying?
That is crazy.
I know.
But it is like to think too just about the trauma.
And of course she was like assaulted too.
Right. Of course.
It's like, that's like a guarantee.
Oh yeah.
For
You're
women,
not just going to be stabbed.
Yeah.
It's always going to be more.
Yeah.
But thinking about like the trauma portion of it, like how many times in your life are you also going to encounter a bear?
Right.
Like where I would have like PTSD from, oh my God, that bear attack.
Right.
And now I'm triggered.
Right. But like I'm never going to go on the hiking again.
I can avoid that, but you can't avoid
50% of the population.
The world. Yeah. Like you can't escape that. So, you know, I feel like we're going on and on about this, but it's just, if I had to choose one, I would rather like take my chances and be like, well, I'll never go out in the woods again.
Right.
I won't put myself in those situations. But with
you're like, that's probably not going to happen twice. A bear attack.
Yeah, but like with an assault from or an attack from a man, like you literally would never know. Like how
I know
it's definitely harder to avoid that when it's happened to you before and then it's constantly on your mind.
Right.
Like, it's hard to not be triggered again.
Right.
Anyway. That was interesting. That was just TikTok. I was like, wow.
We're having a productive conversation.
Yeah. And across other people, not just us. Like, they were talking about it on Heather McDonald. Other couples are talking about it. It's like, wow. Bring us all together.
Right. Just speaking of Elizabeth Smart too, so I thought that was really interesting. After she's experienced all this trauma, she chose not to do therapy.
That is an interesting choice.
I know, because it's especially now. I mean, that happened many years ago, but it's like people are so like, you got to get in therapy, you got to get a life coach, therapist. It's like, but I did think that was she's like, therapy just doesn't work for everybody, and but. Like, as far as like JC Dugard versus her, but it's like kind of similar. Elizabeth had a very supportive family, and was nurtured growing up. Yeah. So it was like she almost had more like strength and coping mechanisms in the situation than JC did. And I just was like, yeah, I mean, that would probably make a huge difference too. And then to come back and be so supported versus
to not really have
that.
It is. I think you bring up a good point about the therapy thing and how it is so pushed now. And like myself, I'm in that field. And it's like, I think that everybody can benefit from therapy in some type of capacity, whether it's like equine therapy, art therapy, your own therapy of like going on nature walks, like that. It can look different for everybody. But I do feel like we do push it so much, almost to a point where it's getting like a little bit played out. Like, and I don't mean that in like that it's not important. It's just people almost made it like a trend. Right. And it feels like people are just like, well, go to therapy. Oh, you need to go to therapy. Oh, you're traumatized.
Or like even back to like the men thing. It's like, well, why don't you just go to therapy? Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, not everybody can just go
I mean, it is
to therapy.
It's expensive. It's not like, if you're not always going to mesh with the first therapist that you meet. Or like
even, you at a certain point too, you can't just rely on somebody else. Yeah. Even if they are like a, mental health professional, but it's like you do also have to interact with people in the world 100%. And know how to, and things are going to trigger you, and you're going to have to be able to work through that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like, if therapy is done correctly, you're supposed to be like, and building upon those skills of like, okay, how would this is going to happen in your day-to-day life again. How are you going to manage that? What coping skills can you use? And I feel like sometimes now the talk is just like, oh, therapy is always the answer. But like therapy alone isn't. Like, or sometimes people are like, well, I'm on medication, but then they're not going to therapy and they're not doing it. It's like, well, medication alone doesn't help you either. Like,
there's so many things you have to like continuously work on to work through your issues.
So it just feels like it's a little like tired with how much people are like just saying like, oh, that's the resolution, going to therapy. And it just, there's more to it than just sitting in sessions. And especially like some people aren't ready to talk about stuff or willing. And then if you're just going to go to a session with a therapist and sit there the whole time, then that doesn't help you at all. Okay, yeah, you're going to therapy.
But you're not getting... And some people are more comfortable talking to strangers and some people aren't. Like some people, they rather talk to somebody they know more. Yeah. So it's like, it really just depends on the person. But I know it's like talk therapy isn't always the answer.
For sure. So, I mean, I think it's surprising that Elizabeth Smart didn't go that route. But because she has other supports.
Right. And she had like a support system.
Yeah.
And she did say like horseback riding was something she loved before. And then she was still horseback riding, but she wasn't doing like a technical therapy.
Yeah.
But she's like, I did stuff that made me feel good, which was like horseback riding.
Yeah.
And it made me just feel more confident and relaxed. And she really did, not to keep comparing her to JC Dugard, but there was a lot more of like an immaturity when she was talking from JC, but how could there not be?
Yeah.
When you're like stunted.
Oh yeah.
And then with Elizabeth, she just really talked like an adult talking about something that happened to them when they were kids. So.
But that to me does just say a lot about how she processed things, and she probably did talk about it a lot with her parents,
right.
You know, I mean, and now she's able to talk about it publicly and in an eloquent way instead of, and in a reflective way, probably.
Yeah. It was actually it was a really good book. And too, just like the strength of children sometimes was such that little, like, you don't think that like a kid is going to remember like something you say or like, just remember, you know, I'll blah 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 blah, and for them to like take that in and like literally use that as a kid, it just blew my mind. Even like JC was like that too. I was just like, wow. I
know, not to take it to like a dark place, but for adults, and even, you know, when you get sometimes into like the the adolescent age, it's like some of the hope kind of can diminish quicker. But even for young kids, like if they're in horrible home situations, it's like a lot of times they still have hope because
and like happiness, and they still love like the people that maybe aren't nice or in their situation is stressful, but they still love and find happiness.
Or
and
like,
it's like
you say they hold on, like maybe they saw a poster of their favorite athlete and they hold on to that, or like a movie they watched and they're like, wow, that could be my, like, kids, it's easier for them to cling to that.
I know, whereas like an adult, you'd be like, what's the point?
Well, that's never gonna be me.
Just kill me.
I can't do this. I literally, when the NFL draft was on last weekend, and at one point, I didn't like watch this really, but at one point they had like, I don't know if they were veterans or just people who were born with a deformity. They were up there to do one of the draft picks, and then they also were like athletes, and they were, you know, these are like, they were all men, but they're in wheelchairs. The one guy like didn't have a leg, and they're also like out there going above and beyond and playing football and whatever other sports. And I was just there like, I do not have that willpower.
I know. Whenever I come across, like, I feel like TikTok in that way, when they show some of the stuff that some people go through, or like their, I don't know, genetics stuff, and like if they've had a tragic accident. I mean, I am just so blown away the way, I mean, a lot of people that are like paralyzed come up, and the way they can get up and move.
Oh, I know.
Or even that guy that was in the iron lung for like 70 something years.
Yes.
He's like going to college, painting.
Yeah.
It's like, what's stopping me from doing things?
I think that exact same thing. And then here I am. I'm like, I told my dad the one time, like, if I ever got in a horrific accident, just let me go. Like, because I don't think I could do it.
I know. I literally told my son, we were at the store the other day, and there was these old women, and they were like at the pharmacy or whatever. And I looked in the cart, which I try not to be nosy, and they had like pads in there. And I told my son, I said, if I am on death's door and I need pads, take me out back.
What did he say?
Just get rid of me. He goes, no. I'm like, okay, I know you wouldn't, but I'm just like,
you're just like, you're too young to understand.
I know, like, we'll talk about it later. Just like,
I know.
Oh no, it was just such a like, I just can't do it.
I feel that way too. I just can't. I mean,
I know. I mean, I guess like you could, But it would be, I don't know.
And I mean, who knows? But I just don't think I'm gonna. If that happened to me, I wouldn't end up being a motivational speaker after. I would be probably complaining constantly.
I know that I came across somebody that was like paralyzed, and he was talking about like a doctor's appointment. He's like, the doctor told me I'll probably never walk again. Like, how could someone just say that to somebody? And I was like, wow. You really are looking at that different than I would have took that. I would have been like, yep, okay, I'm not walking.
I guess I'm in this chair
forever. Yeah. They were like, no, nobody could tell me that. I was like, wow, what a great attitude.
I'd be like, well, biologically, I guess he's right. Like,
I'd just take it. Like, I guess I'm not walking anymore. But
yeah. Just different mindsets.
It could never be us.
Unless it happened to us together, then at least
we can feel bad for ourselves together.
Yeah. Just the two of us in the hospital beds. Like,
getting that'd be the only way. Young lady, could you please set up the phone camera?
Can you press record? Hey, maybe by that point we'll have a strong following.
Maybe that time we'll have those people already hired.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Anywho.
That's funny.
We were talking about weddings earlier, but somebody was telling me this crazy story about these people. I didn't know the bride and the groom, but they were in the wedding. And they're at the reception, and then the bride and groom get like violently ill, and they take them to the hospital.
Oh my god!
They have to like pump their stomachs and everything. Here they had been drugged, just
at their own
wedding, and they went back on the cameras, and somebody comes in and drugs their drinks.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and it was just the bride and the groom. I was like, dang, somebody's exes. Like, isn't that insane? And they like,
that is wild.
You almost think that somebody at the wedding gave them a signal.
Right.
Had this person come in and like drugged them. And I guess the girl, because she, smaller, like the guy ended up being fine, but the girl was kind of like in pretty rough shape.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, that is so freaky.
That is so insane.
I know, especially when you're like at a wedding, like all these people that you love are there.
Yeah, you never expect.
No, except for them to like drug the bride.
Wait, was this like around here?
It was. I'll have to get more of the detail. I mean, you don't know them. We know who they are, but it's like, that was around here.
Damn.
So anyway, watch your drinks
at your wedding.
Speaking of being a woman,
the one time you feel you're
safest, you're getting drugged, you and your groom. And you wonder if it was like they didn't know who to do it to and just did it to both, or if it was really just like
that
both
seems
attack.
Calculated.
I know, it was so wild.
What a like horrible thing to happen. Any time, but like on your wedding,
like someone wanted to ruin your
and then
wedding.
like. What does everybody else do? Do they just end the reception?
I know. I was kind of wondering about that too. Like, everybody else is probably drunk.
Yeah.
They probably don't even know the bride and the groom. Like, honestly, if like the wedding I was just at, the bride and groom were gone, I probably wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah. And even if you did notice that they left, it's not like they were calling back and saying, hey, we were drugged.
Right. They're like in the hospital getting their stomach pumped. I just thought that was wild.
That is so wild. Oh my gosh.
Freaky.
And the fact that they could look on the camera and find the person.
Like come in, and I think the person was telling me that said they were like kind of like wearing all black and just kind of like not like ski mask.
How easy is it though? Like to go to any wedding and just walk in.
Crashed weddings before.
Yes, we have.
At least one for sure.
Yeah.
And it was like we just kind of like
walked in.
And it was fine. And like nobody would have known.
No.
So everybody, if you're getting married,
just
security
be on the lookout.
or something.
Yeah, get security for
you
the
can't even trust the people that are in there.
That is crazy.
You know, I thought that was wild.
Wow.
Anyway.
How terrifying.
I know, right? I was listening to Celebrity Member Book Club's newest episode, and they did Kristen Doute's like book.
Oh.
Which I've tried to get, but I couldn't get it on audio, so I'm like, eh. But they were well, the book sounds pretty unhinged, but
well,
their episode was really funny. Like, I was laughing. But the part I wanted to bring up was Kristen has talked about in the past that James was like abusive, but I guess that's like in the book. That was
really?
from a couple years ago, but I don't think she's as, because they kind of like said like Scheana Sandoval, you know, like, so I don't think she actually says like their names, but she's like talking again about how Bravo didn't air the footage of like James like hitting her.
Yeah.
And I am just really, and obviously we did see her hit him and they weren't like in a great relationship. But if Bravo really did do that, like,
I know.
that is so, I don't even know what to think of that.
And
I guess just more like a, from the Bravo standpoint, like that is such a huge, horrible thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I think if we're thinking from like a company standpoint, obviously you're not going to share it, right? Because that looks horrible.
Right.
But like when shoes on the other foot with like a woman hitting a man, there is still that stigma where it's like, well, that's not that big of a deal.
Right. Or it's like, well, we'll show this part and it'll show that you guys were fighting and then it won't be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Because if they both came out and were like, well, he hit me, she hit me, or whatever, they're like, well, we showed some of it.
And if they showed him or like just any man hitting a woman and nobody stepped in, then that would be
detrimental.
Yeah, I mean,
and
really.
I just keep like kind of wondering, and I wonder if anything more will like come with that. And I know it's like Kristen isn't a reliable source, but I would love to know if there really is.
But it does make you wonder because remember, oh my God, it was like Taylor Armstrong and her husband was like, it came out that he was horribly abusive. I mean, who knows what they had on film. Right. But I just feel that it was that time of reality television where they felt like they needed to keep some things behind closed doors.
Like this is too much for I know it does make you wonder, like even this season of Vanderpump and like I'm kind of like in like a, I don't know what to think about if your talent or your employees are saying like, whether you believe Sandoval or not, but him saying like he's having really dark thoughts, him then also saying that Ariana is gonna hurt herself, like right on camera, like at what point did they need to step in?
Right, I agree.
And if like, you know, I mean, and we did see James not be physically abusive, but I mean, we saw him say some pretty horrible things to her, and Bravo was not stepping in. Like, at what point should they have like? Yeah, and that's just Vanderpump as an example. Like, I don't know, and I know there was like a different time, and people just really didn't care if people were being abused and stuff.
We talked about like Naked Wasted and all that stuff too. It's like
no one's stepping in here.
What?
I know you clearly know someone's drunk and like might be getting assaulted in the bathroom. It's like I just feel like I get like if you're making reality TV and you have to like just let things play out, but I do feel like, or even on Jersey Shore when they'd be like physically fighting people and they would just be standing there with the camera and then you'd finally see some like
a bouncer come in. Not even, it was from the club.
I know, or like even in I don't remember when they were in Italy.
Oh yeah.
And people were finally coming out after it was like getting so bad with him and Ronnie, and it was like nobody else, and you know, and the fact that or I think Vinny was talking about how he was like breaking the fourth wall when Jenny and Sam were fighting, and he's like, are you guys gonna do something? Is somebody gonna do something? And that's why it's so cut up in the footage, which obviously you'd have to cut it up and stuff too, but it was like he was like breaking the fourth wall, and they like took all that out, and nobody's like, doing anything, and you're like making this like cast wrangle these girls or these guys,
and it's from like a viewer's standpoint too. It's like, I don't necessarily want to see conflict and then have producers come running in to break it up all the time either. Like, you know, I don't want this to turn into like a Jerry Springer situation. But at the same time, there are things that, but this is what makes me wonder what these contracts are like, because these contracts have to say, like, we are not liable. I mean,
if you get physically injured.
Yeah, they have to, because, or else they would have to break stuff up and come in.
Right. I know. And it's kind of, or like in Jersey Shore again, when you're seeing like Ron picking up a bed with Sam on it and like throwing all her stuff. It's like, no wonder she didn't want to come back. She's freaking traumatized.
Wild, though, because I mean, watching Jersey Shore, it was so just like, oh, whatever.
Right.
And now when you look back on that stuff, and even like we talked about some of the old seasons of The Housewives and whatever, you're just like, whoa, this is what we were consuming.
I know, we were just like, wow, you know, just like taking it all in. And
like this, it was unhinged.
I know, and then when you rewatch that stuff, you're like, holy crap.
But I think that that's kind of why we, I don't know, feel a certain way about some reality shows now, because things are almost too curated sometimes. And I mean, I want everybody to be safe and stuff. But when people, like when reality TV was first kind of on the fringe and stuff, it was like people were just being themselves. They're like, oh, this will be good television. And now that they're already established and they're, you know, making money and whatever, it's like, well, now I want to look good.
Right.
So it's like, sometimes things that happen on there, you're just like, well, this isn't real, or this isn't genuine, or there's no conflict, and I don't know what the happy medium is sometimes.
I know, and then you just kind of have to think too, like, what do we want to see as viewers? Because it's like, if I'm thinking about the last season of OC, it was like that I did not enjoy watching. So boring. And it's like everybody ganging up on one person over and over and over. Like, that doesn't feel good in real life. That doesn't feel good to watch.
No.
And it's like with the new season of Vanderpump, like, I'm not enjoying watching this pain, you know, like, I don't know. It's like, what makes a good reality show anymore?
Yeah, I know. It does. I don't know what I want to see.
No.
And even when we talk about like Vanderpump as our example, like, I truly don't know what I wanted from this season.
I know. I guess I wanted, I don't know either. Or like the Beverly Hills Housewife. I don't want to see, I don't know how she is, 16, 18, little girl crying about her parents getting a divorce. Like, that doesn't feel
or even
good.
You know how they've been coming out with stuff with like, oh, well, if Dorit doesn't share about her and PK, or if Kyle doesn't share about her and Morgan, then they're not going to be back. First of all, I don't believe that. I don't feel like Bravo has ever given ultimatums like that we know of, especially with Kyle, because she's basically the cornerstone of that franchise. But it's just like, if they're being forced to discuss this stuff, I don't want to see that.
I know. It's like, if they don't feel comfortable talking about it for whatever reason, like, I don't want them to have to do that for entertainment purposes.
Like, that feels so gross.
I know. Or like, I think I can't remember if it was like whatever Juicy Scoop, maybe it wasn't her, was like Lala's mad, you know, and she's been talking about how she's mad about how everybody isn't being honest about Ariana. Allegedly, this is what happened. And I'm like, maybe somebody doesn't want to say that to Ariana's face, or like somebody's face. Maybe I don't want to say what I've been thinking in my head because it's mean, and I understand that somebody's going through something. Like, how can you be like, I don't know.
Well,
it's like, do I want to sit there and see Katie be like, yeah, I hated your attitude all season,
Right.
Ariana? It's like, I don't want to see that.
No. And
I don't think it's productive. I don't think.
It's not entertaining. And I was thinking that similar thing. And I can't remember if it was Juicy Scoop where I thought of this or another interview, but they were saying like, well, you know, you sign up to be on a reality show, you sign up for this drama and this kind of stuff, or how people are going to act a certain way. And I'm just like, but why?
I know.
Because I don't think that it's fun to sit there and watch somebody like pick and like bring up stuff inorganically. And, you know, like there are things where like, you know, we might be friends with a group of people and there's some things that we know about one, but like we're not going to bring that up because, and maybe we would talk about it like one-on-one, but like for us to bring it up at dinner would not happen. You wouldn't do that.
I know, like what's the point?
Like I don't feel like it's fun to just watch somebody constantly stir the pot.
Yeah.
Like that is not, like, and it's different from like, okay, like, you know, we kind of need to cut to the chase. This is the issue that we need to bring up versus like how Tamra was last season. Like that was so annoying to watch.
I know. It was terrible. It wasn't making good TV. It just wasn't good. There weren't genuine connections. And it's like, I don't know what they can do from here on out.
I know. But it's definitely just reality TV across the board.
I know,
you know?
Where it is kind of like this weird, I don't know. It's just weird.
And I think when the season started, I mentioned that I was going to watch Summer House. And I've really been enjoying that. I didn't watch this last episode because I just haven't yet, and they are like a real friend group. I like that they are all away from each other during the week. And then on the weekends, they come to the Hamptons to party. They live their lives. Maybe sometimes they meet up during the week. Sometimes they don't. And like, there isn't too much on, like, sometimes there'll be stuff with like Kyle Cook, just because he's been involved with this from the beginning where he can get like a little producer minded. But for the most part, it does feel very organic, and like some of the girls will like be in bed kind of gossiping, but they won't bring that to the table for everybody. Like that is real.
And I do think there are a couple of shows that do it a little bit better with that, but I do think like the Housewives franchise has just gotten so nasty. And like
and it always has been, but
nasty. But they all knew each other before. Now we're like,
that's the difference, I think.
Fake friendships, and it's just getting nasty. Like who can deflect the most? Who can hire a private investigator?
It is just like too, you know, with women, we know that kind of stuff does really happen, and that's why the show was, you know, made in the first place, to see these women that are living these lavish lives and the drama that they get into. But it's just gone to a completely different level now. And it's just when there aren't organic friendships, like that just changes things entirely.
And even like some of the fighting, like when that feels like or natural and organic, that works more for me. Than when, you know, like when Kim Richard, you know, at the dinner table or whatever, and then let's talk about the husband, because like with that Eileen. Felt like stuff that had happened previously off camera, and you're like actually mad. You know, like that works better than these like, I'm just gonna rip apart Heather Dubrow because I'm jealous of how rich she is. Like, who's an easy target.
And I think that kind of stuff, when it is, as much as sometimes I don't like to see some of the deep family drama, but like that's what made Jersey so good too, is because they were all like, they were in-laws, they were entangled, all of them were, and like it was real.
Right.
And it hits so much harder.
And it's almost like that was going to happen
anyway.
Yeah. But the cameras were rolling.
Exactly.
Where like some of this stuff that on reality TV just like isn't working.
Wouldn't happen because these people wouldn't be friends in real life.
No.
Yeah.
Like Ariana wouldn't be hanging around Tom Sandoval. She wouldn't be it just like doesn't make sense. But
yeah.
Anyhow,
I know.
That was interesting.
It is interesting. If only we were producers.
I know they really need to do like some kind of like overhaul, especially on Bravo, because they are. I feel like they've let these their employees' talents just run amok.
I agree.
And now they should have, I don't even know what they can do to like get that back or get them back under control because.
Well, I mean, I think that's like what they were doing with New York, how they like, put in the new generation, basically. It's like they tried to change that up. And I believe that some of these women probably, and I did not watch RHONY, but that they probably run in the same social circle, but I don't think that they're genuine friends. And I heard from a lot of people that they did not enjoy this season of RHONY. So I feel like bringing in the people that were like the OGs, that was magic for a reason. And sometimes when they tried to bring in all these new people, it really just, it's never not works. The same. Yeah.
I know. I don't
but I mean, obviously there's not really longevity there, but when we think about it, I mean, how long will Housewives or any reality show go on for? I mean, at some point it probably needs to end, right?
Yeah, because it's like it's just not working the way it was anymore. And like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's sad that they won't have like that job, but it's like you can't keep having the same nonsense. You're like, okay, well, we're kind of aging out of this nonsense. We need the different type of nonsense.
We'll bring in these young people. And I know it's almost like when, what Heidi and Spencer will talk about with the Hills when they try to do New Beginnings. And they brought in like Misha Barton and Pamela Anderson's son, and I don't know who the other people were, but fresh people. And it's like, well, it didn't work because these were random people dropped into this situation. And Spencer will talk about all the time that the rest of the cast was trying to like image craft and weren't going to give it their all, and were almost still stuck back into the fakeness of the original Hills. It's like it didn't work.
I know. And it's like you're seeing comments about like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to say that so I don't get death threats. Yeah. It's like, that's where I don't know what they need to do, but somebody needs to like make, you're not going to get stuff from these people anymore if you're not going to help them not receive death threats.
Yeah, but I really liked Heather McDonald's suggestion. I think she made it a couple episodes ago where she said for anybody on a reality show, whether it's like Dancing with the Stars or Real Housewives, is for the filming, you have somebody who takes control of your social media and you don't see any of that. And then maybe it's even when they're airing too, like all through that time, so that you can't see the stuff. They will post all the promo stuff for you. It's completely out of your hands.
They're definitely going to have to do something like that because time will pass and then people won't be sending you death threats anymore. So it's like, you just have to get past that initial thing, so you don't want to change and be like this fake persona that you just don't want to be. Because even with like James this season, you can kind of tell it's like, I mean, I definitely think he's pretty shook up from the Sandoval, but I mean, it's kind of like he's not really like doing the James type things. And I do think he's like maturing and stuff, but it's like, it still does feel like he's being restricted.
Yeah, it's like, he probably feels like he can't really say anything because if he if he says how he's feeling about it, then people will do what they did to Scheana.
Literally.
You know, and nobody wants that.
No.
But like we talked about before, and we could talk this to death about everybody has a podcast now, and or they're going on podcasts, and or these Amazon Lives that I continue to not understand what they are. But it's like if we're being exposed to all this, it makes it worse for everybody, in my opinion. It's like we're getting overexposed. They're getting overexposed to the comments from viewers, which then affects how they act the next season.
And then they're like making posts addressing certain things, and you're like,
it's like, don't even address it.
I know.
Literally put out the promo that you have to put out for each episode and go on. Like, don't address it.
I know. It's such a, I don't know. It's so strange these days. It's like, I don't know what's going on. They're going to have to do something else. Or it's almost like they're going to have to like air it immediately for it to like
we can't
work.
Have that lag time.
No, like you can't wait. They can't film in the summer and then we don't see it till
February. Right. Yeah.
Because it's not working anymore.
I know. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure that some of these conversations are being had at the
I know. It's probably so stinking complicated that it's like, how do we do it? Because they're probably like, this show needs film. This one's airing.
Especially
this one needs film.
This one needs airing. Bravo
this one
alone.
Right. It's like, how do we even begin? And then it's like, now you have all these like personalities who are making a bunch of money. We're like, no, I'm going to do it how I want to do it. And then you're kind of like, we don't have time to negotiate this. Just give them what they want. We got to start filming next week. You know, it's like, I don't even know how they're going to frickin' get through that.
I don't know either.
But they need to, because
something needs
to
change.
Working.
Especially just with all the hot water that Bravo has been in.
I know. I don't even know how they're going to. I feel like they're going to be like taken down.
What's going on in these like corporate meetings.
Like, what do we do? And I'm sure everything is like so divided up between like the different shows and stuff. I'm just like, I don't know, guys. I think you might be going down.
I know. I'm scared. I am scared.
But
well, should we take a little break?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, guys, it's no secret that Hannah and I have a sweet tooth, but we hate the guilt that we feel after we've binged on some of our favorite cookies, donuts, or other treats. So that's where dough comes in. Dough is an edible cookie dough company that also has donut holes and some delicious chocolate hazelnut spreads that you can eat and not feel so guilty afterwards. These treats are made with extra ingredients that are good for you, gives you extra energy, makes you focus more, and the best part is that they are vegan and gluten-free, which is so amazing and something that you don't find all the time. And sometimes when you get vegan or gluten-free products, they taste vegan and gluten-free, but these cookie doughs and donut holes do not skimp out on the flavor, and they are so delicious. We have tried the cookie dough raw and baked, and it's good either way. And one of our favorite new donut holes are the collab donut holes with Chamberlain coffee, and it's the cinnamon sugar, and these are just so amazing. You want to eat them with your favorite cup of coffee in the morning. They're just so delicious. And the best part is that they come with some extra vitamins in there to, get your day going and help you focus a little bit more. So if you want to try these vegan, gluten-free, and delicious products, you can go to Eat Dough, and that's spelled DEUX.com to place an order. And if you use the code WATERBOTTLE15, you can get an extra 15% off of whatever you order. That is dough, spelled DEUX, and use WATERBOTTLE15 for 15% off. And we're back. Well, I wanted to say, speaking of just like our Bravo stuff and whatever, we kind of just teed it up with Vanderpump is going on a little break. Did you see that?
I did, but I saw like conflicting info just because like Ariana can't film yet.
Yeah.
And then to give the cast a break.
I mean,
we should have done that in the first place.
Right. They should have done that this time. We said that before.
Literally like 100 times. It's like, this didn't work.
They needed time. And I almost feel like to give them time now, it's kind of like a moot point, you know? Like,
it'll just make them maybe not even want to go back.
I know. And yeah, I mean, I don't know when Love Island films. I have no idea. I've never followed that one. So I couldn't tell you, but I saw that it was because of her, but it could not be. I mean, they've been very adamant in saying it is not canceled.
Right.
It's just taking a pause.
Right.
But what is the real reasoning?
I know. I'd love to.
And I think everybody's kind of mad at Lala. Could it have something to do with that and her pregnancy
or if
too?
They're like regrouping.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, okay, what are we going to do here? How can we get you guys to film together at this point?
Yeah.
But I
don't know. But, and then is that going to push everything back?
I know. I wondered, like, how does that work in the airing? And
yeah. Because say they start filming in September.
Right.
Are we then not going to see it until
summer?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Well,
I just had one more thing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I was listening to Theo Von's podcast this past weekend with Kat Von D, which was like
your dog's like armed.
It's completely extended. And I just wanted to I guess Kat Von D like bought a house in Indiana.
Did she really?
She's like our neighbor.
Whatever happened to Kat Von D?
I know.
Though?
Well, remember she had all that like controversy stuff because I think she came out as like an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, well.
And nobody takes that very well.
No, it
like her son and stuff. And then she got like more Christian. But she was saying in this podcast that actually Christianity had been like a part of her life growing up. And then she like got out of it and then back into
Became like a satanic person when she was with Marilyn Manson.
I was thinking about too like her dating history there for a while where she was dated Jesse James.
Yeah.
I remember when she like had the post after they broke up, she's like, well, I know you guys are gonna say I told you so. And then when she dated Steve-O, I was like, oh my
I feel like Kat Von D was always kind of in on the joke.
I know.
You know.
I feel like she's lived 1,000 lives.
Yes.
Like literally. She's probably not even that much older. I mean,
she's older.
Like
maybe
8 years, maybe.
10 max.
I wonder how old she is. But yeah, so she's moved to Indiana by the Ohio River, she said. But she said people know where
close to it.
I know. We should go snoop. She said people know where she lives because it was kind of like a big deal because it was like this place was like a bed and breakfast thing.
Okay.
And then they're like kind of restoring it, but they're going to live in she's 42. So I mean, that's really not old.
Like 10,
I know.
Well, 12 years, 11 years. But
15 years older.
Yeah, 15 years older. But yeah, I mean,
she had that like, and then she had all that drama with Jeffree Star back in the day.
Yeah, they did.
And then I was just thinking about her. I'm like, and I just used to love watching LA Ink. And my grandpa,
oh my god,
and my grandpa would always be like, you know, she would be really pretty if she didn't have all those tattoos. I'm like, but she's a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want a barren tattoo artist. Like,
yeah, that doesn't even make sense. Oh my god, I loved LA Ink.
It was such a good show. Now that was a cool reality show where you got like a little bit of the drama from the home or like outside drama stuff,
or even
because she hired that one Aubrey, that blonde girl. That was a bunch of drama. But then you got to like talk to the tattoo people and then watch them do the tattoos and see how it turned out. And
how they would design them and rework them. And
I know, like that was such a cool show.
And it was so fun to see them like do the tattoos and then do the reveals.
I know. And then
they'd show like the picture, like, you know, however long after it healed or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that.
I know. And then Kat Von D was like really for her portrait tattoos, and that was always kind of like interesting to see.
Yeah, I loved that show.
I know, it was so good. And then the vibe of her tattoo shop was so cool too because it was very LA.
Yeah,
and, like, of that time, of that 2000s or
what
like
was
later.
The other one? There was LA Inc. and Miami Inc.
And she was on Miami Inc. And then that was her show.
Yes.
I didn't really watch Miami Inc. though.
I would watch it like
here
occasionally,
and there.
But it made me always like want to get a tattoo from one of those tattoo artists. I'm like, who would I want to go?
I know. Can you imagine getting one like in the prime?
I know, on the show.
I know, and like, I wonder how much those were. Gosh,
I'm sure they were expensive. Yeah,
we're small.
I know,
but
out in LA anyway would be base price would be so much higher.
I know, but it was kind of fun to like hear from her a little bit.
You forgot about her a little bit.
I know, because she was like kept getting killed, and she even kind of made like comments about like people.
I forgot about that she really did go really far.
I know,
way.
but yet still dresses very gothic, but it was kind of cool the way she was talking about like the house and the little town and stuff, and then her and Theo were talking about like the. Like how everybody's kind of like moving out of LA, like kind of like that older-ish or like that age range thing, and they're all just like kind of moving away because it's like you don't need, it's like if you have a podcast, you don't need to be anywhere specific or like if you're a comedian, it's like you're doing the live shows and then you're like just doing your podcast.
Yeah, you're probably not even hardly home.
Yeah.
So why would you want to spend
that much
much money?
I know. Theo moved to Nashville recently, so
which is what a lot of people.
Everybody's. I know. I'm like, do we need to take a trip?
We should. That's not even that bad. It makes me so mad that I never went when I was in college in Cincinnati. It wasn't even that far. I could have driven. Yeah, so dumb.
I know, but
that would be a fun trip for us to do.
I know. I think
let's plan that and then never do it.
But I know now that all the celebrities are down there, I'm like, we need to.
I know.
Drive by some places.
It would be fun though, like just because it seems like such a chill vibe that you probably would see a lot of people just out and about.
I know, like find out that little like areas that they live in and like, I'm gonna go to Target.
And then stalk their homes.
Go through their
trash.
Bushes. Yeah. I know, but I just thought that was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of cool to see from her. But then it also was like, I feel like LA right now is so full of those influencers that they really are kind of like.
They probably just like pushed Kat Von D out.
I know, literally, like there's no room for you comedians anymore. She did say she goes to LA quite a bit to do her music.
Didn't know she had a music career.
Is there still Kat Von D? I know she had like sold it or something.
Oh, her makeup and stuff?
But is it still?
I don't know.
In biz?
I don't know. I actually had her contour before, like contouring bronze or anything.
I remember I had
because
one of those
it was
palettes too.
A cool tone, and I am pale, and it worked so much better. I mean, I'll pop that baby out sometimes.
I know, I still use mine every once in a while. And she had the tattoo liner.
Yeah, and she had the concealer that covered up the tattoos.
I know, but I don't really hear like anybody talk about her cosmetic.
She used to be huge.
I know, like that was like all over YouTube.
Yes.
That locket foundation, and then I just remember she like stepped down from it or something. That would have been a couple or like quite a few years ago, and I just wonder if it's like, can you still get anything anymore?
I remember she
had like the perfume like Saint and Sinner.
Oh yeah,
and then there was like another pairing that they did.
She
like, Saint or Sinner?
I mean, she really just kind of took herself out. I mean, in some ways she was pushed out with some of the controversy, but to go so far as to, I feel like she said, I made my money, I don't want to do this anymore. Right.
It's like, I just want to take a step back. Yeah. And then she had like those public breakups and stuff, and then she got her husband.
She just wants to do more of what actually makes her happy.
Right. And she like seems super like into the house she's redoing. She said they're not fully moved into it yet, but they they still go and stay with somebody when they're down there. And then when they go to LA, she stays with a friend. And it's
wow, that's
she's
crazy.
just living this. And then she was talking about like homeschooling her son.
Oh,
and
God.
all that stuff.
I guess I'm not surprised by that.
And then just one last funny story. She said that she's like, I guess in Indiana, you're not allowed to like have a pet squirrel. And she's like, but we found the cutest little pet squirrel. And then she's like, she was posting about, she said, what was it for? I can't remember. She said she was like basically posting an apology video and somebody saw the squirrel in the back. And then they called the like, you know, the whatever, the people that
like
come
animal control.
Yeah. And they like showed up at her house. You're like, you got a squirrel? And they're like, no, but yes. And they're like, well, what are you going to do with it? And they were like, well, we're going to have to put it down. And she's like, okay, I'll just set it free or whatever. And she's like, we didn't. And she was pretty much like, yeah, we still have the squirrel.
They're gonna be knocking on her door again.
I know. She didn't fully say it. She's like, you know, it's somewhere. But it was just so funny that somebody freaking
saw it and called.
Yeah, like literally, she never posted about the squirrel and stuff, and then somebody saw it in the background.
What
like,
a creepo!
It was like I just saw something too where people found that from the baby rain. What was it called? Baby deer.
Yeah, baby reindeer. They found her. Yeah.
I'm like, can you people just act like normal? Well, why are you doing that?
Yeah. Well, that's like because didn't I talk about that last week? But where well, maybe I didn't say this, I don't remember. But for anybody who has watched it, we know that episode 4 we said was the trauma part. But they tried to find the person that was involved in that trauma. Mm-hmm. And the guy who created this show and went through it, he's like, please do not search for this person.
If he wanted people to know the exact names,
he would have said their names. That's what he said. And he was like, this is my trauma too. Like, I know I'm putting it out for you, but I didn't use their names for a reason. Right. Obviously, for the woman, it's like there were records and stuff, so it was probably easier to find her.
But it's like, still, why? Yeah, it's like, just don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Why did we need to know?
No.
Why did we need that
why
information?
So we could send her death threats, get a lawsuit going?
Yeah. Like then with everything with the other person in episode 4, like people, and I saw it in the TikTok comments, they were putting out people's names that they thought it was involved. And so one person, the guy came out and he's like, it was not so-and-so. Please stop commenting on his page and all this stuff. It's like, you're crazy. Why are you doing this? You're just speculating based on what? Minimal information?
Literally. Like, I just can't imagine doing that. Or even like, you know, we've had issues with Lala. I would never send her a DM.
No.
I would never comment.
Like, I hate you.
What is that?
Like, it's insane.
I know. It's such a waste of your life. Put your phone down.
I know. Walk away.
Walk away. Go cook some muffins.
Remember who you are, and you don't know these people.
Go into the mirror. Yeah. Touch your eye. Touch your forehead. Really take in that you exist as a human person.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
It's
but anyway.
Crazy, but
just psycho people.
So, okay, let's just go through Vanderpump here. We started out with something about her, which did we talk about the announcement?
Yeah, I think.
May 22nd. I know I made a TikTok about it, but
I don't know.
Anyway, they brought that up because Katie and Ariana were on Watch What Happens Live too, and they did like a real, we have an announcement, even though everybody already knew. Right. But so, we finally have an opening date for Something About Her, May 22nd. But right now, Something About Her is a complete mess. It looks like just storage for boxes. And then out pops Anne from behind the counter.
I know. I'm like, I wonder what the update with that is at this point.
Well, Ariana did say on Watch What Happens Live that in the meantime, because obviously Something About Her has not been open, Anne took another job.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're going to bring her back on or in what capacity, but she did mention that. I don't know, just kind of like surface level stuff with that. And then Lisa comes, they kind of talk about stuff and parting ways with that Penny lady, which I think that they did. But then there's drama with the trademark.
Yeah, I saw some.
It seems very messy.
It does.
But also not messy enough that I want to dig deep into it. We go to Kyle Chan's store again, which Kyle Chan is really a main player in this season, and we've never seen him basically ever before.
He's always been in
a little background.
Yeah, we've always heard the name.
But we've never seen the man.
No.
Now we're seeing him speak. We're seeing his store. It's worth having it. The whole finale is a party for his whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Then Scheana and Sandoval come to this meeting because they're talking about that party. And this is where I started to get really confused, and it basically just continued on the entire episode. First of all, Kyle Chan says that Sandoval is going to be the manager for the performance.
I don't get it.
Which seems completely unnecessary. And Tom's like, oh yeah, I can organize anything. Like, stop.
I know.
Enough. And then all of a sudden, Scheana and Sandoval just make up.
Mm-hmm.
In literally like the blink of an eye.
That's what's like, I don't, if you're gonna forgive him it's like, you don't have to just be like mad, but like give yourself space away from him. Why? That's why he continues to speak to people the way he does, because has no repercussions. Yeah. You're hugging him, touching his foul body that was all over Rachel. We're gonna go there.
I know. And it's
no wonder he acts the way he has this whole time.
And how like Ariana kind of touches on it later when she's having that random conversation with Brock, where she's like, it's not even about me.
Right.
It's about the fact
that he is
treating Scheana horribly. Yes. And she continues to just go back. And at this point, it's just like, Scheana, have some self-respect.
I know, literally. Like, where's your dignity? Why are you letting this man? And again, like, just at that time, like, there could have been more time to talk to Sandoval and rebuild this relationship. Why does
rebound so quickly?
I know, like, that's fine what he said. No, that's fine when he says this and that.
Especially when in that moment she was so triggered and so angry. How do you just turn around, whether it was actually a day or a couple days or a week that passed? It doesn't even matter. That is such a short period of time.
And you've heard what he said to Ariana.
Yes.
And again, it doesn't have to be about
multiple other people.
He's not, it doesn't make any sense.
And for him to like just continuously apologize and then do the same thing again, it's like the same behavior that we talked about before
really
with Lala.
Even apologizing.
No, you're right.
But
it's just you're not changing at all.
No.
And what it's like you get such whiplash, and how much longer are you going to do that?
As of whenever May 1st, he's still acting like this. Yeah. I don't get it.
Right.
Anyway.
So that was annoying, and Sandoval, pushes out some crocodile tears yet again, and he just gets away with all this stuff, and it's infuriating. And then Lala is having her 33rd birthday, and this was honestly just so stupid. She calls him to make sure he knows he's not invited.
I know.
And that was just like so set up so that she could see that he and Scheana were together.
Yeah.
So that Katie would see that.
Right.
Like, come on. That was dumb.
It was dumb.
And even if you, like, say it was genuine, what the heck, Lala? Why would you call him to...
What's mean?
Like, salt in the wound. That is so mean. Obviously, he knows about the party.
I know, right?
Like, come on. They're all prepping for this. Oh, well, I guess I don't feel like there was really much that happened at Lala's party. Did you? It was like kind of a fun little thing, but whatever. Oh, Ariana just heard about the Scheana thing and she was annoyed.
Making disgusted faces.
Valid.
I know.
Because it doesn't make any sense and it's stupid. Then everybody's just prepping for the upcoming San Francisco trip. We see Ariana and Dan on a date. And I think that's the first time we've seen him like in person on the show, right?
Yep.
Kind of cute, refreshing to see them. And I loved
his long hair. I didn't know it was that long.
I didn't realize it was that long either. Like, and it really took me off guard. I loved it. I was like, holy cow, how do you even grow your hair that long?
I know. When I know it's like shaved and stuff, but it's like, how did all that get in that tiny little bun?
And like, I wonder, not that everything has to have like a reason for something, but it made me wonder, like, is it a belief system that he has that, because it's just, or if you don't see many men that do that.
No, or if it's just always wadded up in a thing that it really doesn't bother him.
Right.
That it's growing. But.
It was interesting. I like Dan so far. He seems like he's a nice person. I liked how on their date they were talking about specifically how the distance has allowed them to really talk and get to know each other and really take things slow, because we just said that, I think, last week. And he really is not into talking to Sandoval or wanting to see him, and not into moving to California.
Kind of love that.
I know. That was the part that we saw in the preview for this season where he's like, no. No, I think that is a hard thing for a lot of people, though. Like, if you're a New Yorker, you're a New Yorker. Right. If you're LA, Hollywood, you're Hollywood. Okay. Schwartz, James, and Sandoval are at Sandoval's show, and then randomly T is there, and then Joe shows up.
Yeah.
And then Sandoval's mom.
Yeah.
Who I had to laugh because they had so many shots of Sandoval's mom just being like,
I know.
Like,
if I was his mother, I would not be showing my face anywhere.
She was completely mesmerized by the show.
I mean, people just love their kids.
That's a mother's love. A mother's love right there. But other than that, that was pretty non-eventful, just kind of talking about SF stuff as well. Schwartz and Joe have a little tete-a-tete outside. And like, apparently Joe went on a vacation or something, and then Schwartz goes, how many dudes did you bang?
It's like, dude, I don't want to talk to you about it because you used and abused me.
But why would you even bring that
because
up?
He's
such a little schmuck. Like,
I know he's a stoopy, poopy Peter Pan. I don't even like it. And
their whole conversation, like, I can't go there with you. I'm like, I thought we were done with this. I thought we were done.
I know. And then it was just like, come on.
I know.
Don't even show me this.
And then she's coming to San Francisco. Like,
did
why?
Lala invite her?
Well, but it's also stupid because in the last time we saw Joe, she was like, well, maybe we shouldn't hang out at all. I know. And now she's right back into it. It's like she's a glutton for punishment, that Joe, coming back. And it's affecting us because it's painful to watch them together. And then when what did he say? He was like, oh, this is Joe. She's my friend and we're getting married in 8 years. And then she's like, you just said we're getting married in 8 years.
Yes, I heard
and he goes, what? I did? I don't know. Like, come on.
I know. I'm like, just get out of here.
Like, we can't keep doing this same thing over and over.
I just can't with the nonsense.
I can't either. Okay, then they go to San Francisco. We see them like get on the plane, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. Sandoval purposefully kind of takes a step back so he's not around Dan, which that's probably the best thing he's done all season, honestly, is knowing that he shouldn't insert himself there. And then this is what really freaking shook me when Lala said, you tell me that Dan is this great guy and all this stuff, but then he wants to be with somebody who just got out of this long-term relationship and still lives with her ex. I was like, What?
I know, she's such a hater. And then the way she was freaking like, damn boy, when she saw
do you work
him,
out?
I know,
You have a great
she's
body.
like, oh,
good for you.
Freaking,
yeah,
like her eyes. Woo, hot. I was like,
it was gross. Just the fact, like, I guess nothing from her should really surprise us at this point. But the fact that she said that, it's like such an insult to Dan and an insult to Ariana.
I mean, you mean they're two normal humans that met each other normally?
Yeah.
And like, I know, I'm like, you're such a hater. Like, you're such a hater. And she doesn't want people to call her jealous, but it does sound.
It just, all of her actions and words, like,
I know,
spew jealousy.
I know. And it was kind of like, oh, he's really hot. There must be something wrong with them that he, you know, is dating her at this point in her life.
And it's like, she's so envious that she didn't find somebody right after her horrible situation with Randall. It's just that was so, I could not believe that she said that in the confessional.
What's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
I'm like
what do you mean?
Such a hater.
And like we said last week, it's such low stakes, their relationship.
I know.
They're long distance at this point. They just FaceTime, have conversations.
Right.
It's like you're building an emotional connection. You're taking it so slow. That's not weird.
No.
And he probably really helped Ariana heal, gain confidence.
And like trust men again.
Yeah. I mean, Lala could have used somebody like that.
She's just mad she didn't find him first.
No kidding. Then I thought it was sad when, I think this was when they were going on the boat or something, and Schwartz was like, oh, I put my hand out to see if Katie would, instinctively grab it. And then Katie goes, you never held my hand. I was like,
literally.
Oh,
literally.
Like, that hurts because I love holding hands.
I know.
And it's just like, he never held your hand.
Of course he didn't, because he's a freaking probably playing video games all day.
Satchel held her hand.
Literally.
So that was like, it was cute, but also sad. And then Schwartz commits to living with Sandoval when they're on the pier because they're all underdressed because San Francisco is actually really freaking cold and nobody tells you that before you go there.
Right.
That it is blustery and chilly, so they were all underdressed. So they all got the stupid San Francisco touristy sweatshirts. But I didn't understand that because we obviously know that they're not living together. So I didn't really get what the deal is with that. And it's the worst financial move ever for Schwartz to get involved. Literally. Then they go on the boat trip to by the bridge and by Alcatraz, and James is doing a fun little pole dance for everybody. And Sandoval says to, I think it was Lala, our first trip as a couple was to San Francisco.
And I was like, punch.
Don't get reminiscent here. Shut up. And then after they got off the boat is when Ariana and Brock had that really random one-on-one where Brock is trying to be the main character and Ariana schools him and says male rage isn't a problem, but apparently female rage is. And then they put the montage of all the guys
screaming at their girls.
Yep. I freaking love that. And then how Brock was like,
there's a woman behind that.
Yeah. But Brock was like, forgiveness. And it's like, no, I'm glad that Ariana stood up for herself and said that is not the only way that you can move forward.
Right.
Because it's not.
Right. And you don't have to forgive right then that day.
Right.
And I hate how they're just all pushing this forgiveness thing, all of them when they are the grudge holders.
Yeah,
it's
for real.
Just so stupid.
And they're the grudge holders, but also have the lowest rebound rate ever. Or would it be highest, I guess? Where in 5
just
seconds.
Because you don't have any control over how you want to feel doesn't mean that Ariana has to feel what you guys do.
And with how toxic this situation was Why does she need to forgive?
I know,
she
it's
can
like,
fully just move on.
Over.
Yeah, pretend that doesn't exist anymore and be done. And that's what she's doing. And that is working for her. So that is great. That's exactly what she needs to do. And I felt like Brock kind of walked away from that like, oh, well, I was proved wrong. Or not I was proved wrong. I was told I was wrong. Like, I feel like he didn't really hear that conversation. And we talked about Dan's extremely long hair that caught us off guard. And then they're at this 20s party, which I wasn't really sure why. Was it like a welcome party? Up. Or, I don't know. Which I guess is like kind of fun. A theme is fun. And Schwartz proposes to Katie that they have a one night stand of just like vegging out in bed. But I totally thought that like literally them sleeping together would have been more plausible. Right. You know? I
know. And it's like, oh, sorry, Schwartz. You gave all that up when you just couldn't step it up. So.
Yeah. Like,
you don't get to have this fun connection time.
Yeah. And Katie said that on Watch What Happens too. She's like, honestly, like, you know, Andy said, would you have slept with him if he would have said that? And she's like, probably not. Like, she kind of paused a little bit, but
probably not.
She's like, I definitely wouldn't have eaten snacks on my phone in bed. Like, that is an intimate thing to do.
It is.
It sounds weird to say that, but like it is.
There is like that level of intimacy of
the comfortability. Yeah. Because obviously you can sleep with somebody and walk away and be done, you know. Oh, Scheana again can't help herself with Sandoval when he asks.
I know. I literally just was like, "Why don't you guys just hook up right there?"
I know. Like no one's around.
You're in love with each other. Why don't you guys just get married?
You might as well. Yeah. And
I actually teared up a little bit when they were like,
really?
just a little bit. It wasn't like I'm crying, but when it was showing Ariana, like, just like she didn't go to.
That was
couples
sad.
Therapy, you know, for nothing. And she just was like, and I know it was just the edit of her, but you could tell she was just like, just bummed about. Yeah. I was like,
maybe her being a little bit reflective. I know. I did think that the points that Scheana was making were very that was valid. Better.
Yeah, it was like, but
again, it's falling upon deaf ears.
I know. He's like, like it's like he want, and it's almost like he literally can't process it. It's like she didn't buy a home, she didn't freeze her eggs for nothing if she didn't want to
like,
be with you.
Who does that? Like who would do all those things if they didn't care about somebody, if they didn't see a life
to work? I know. That's why I was like, gosh, that was sad. And then I just seen little Ariana and just like thinking about everything that she's been through. And then that's the other thing too, when everyone's like, forgive Sandoval. He's not sorry.
No. He's never said sorry.
Right. It's like, how can you forgive somebody who isn't remorseful in any way? But anyway, I just thought that was sad.
I felt like when Scheana was talking to him, they should have had like one of the little cartoon bubbles of his thoughts and it being like literally anything else.
I know.
Yeah, like
no
she's saying these beautiful things and literally. He's just like, I wonder what my set list is going to be.
I know. And he literally, you could see whenever somebody tries to be like, hey, you hurt her, he's just like,
yeah,
like he can't even,
it's like he can't even sit through it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was really, and then how he was like, I was worried about her mentally. Were you? Were you when like you were the cause of all this strife?
Anguish.
And then you called her out about it like multiple times on Howie Mandel's podcast on the end of the season. Like that was disgusting what he did.
It really was.
He completely weaponized that and it was vile and he has not apologized to her for that. And that was the end of the episode. That was pretty much it that I wanted to bring up from Watch What Happens Live too. The people that were bartenders were from that brand, the Boys Lie that Ariana wears, but they started a podcast. And at first I was like, oh, are they not affiliated with the brand? And I looked up the podcast and on Spotify, they only had 78 ratings and it made me feel better about ourselves. But then I realized that they were the founders of the brand. And I'm like, well, they're probably going to gain a lot more popularity.
Especially if you're on Watch What Happens
Live. Right. How can we get on Watch What Happens Live?
I don't think we can.
Can we just continuously DM Andy? Will he?
He'll just
we'll
block
just
us.
tag him and everything. And I do think if we went to New York and we just DM'd him, we might get lucky. He might be at least give us seats in the audience.
Maybe.
We just need an in.
I know. We need to connect.
I'm so mad that my Joey connection, I'm so mad at myself. He's friends with Katie. He's like besties with Katie.
Right.
That could have been our in. If only I'd known years ago that he was going to move to LA.
Right.
And we were going to start a podcast.
I know.
I'm still salty about that, though, honestly. Anyway, yeah. So I think, do you think we're going to have, what was that episode? Was it 13?
I don't know.
So we know that the finale is in this, with this party in San Francisco. So how many more episodes are they going to squeak out of this?
I don't know.
Like, I don't know either.
And they haven't advertised the finale
No,
yet.
so it obviously isn't next week, but I don't know. But then I feel like somebody was saying a 16 episode season, but that means we'd have 3.
That could be. I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Okay, you want to go into recommendations?
Sure.
Okay, mine is another food item from Trader Joe's, obviously. They should sponsor us at this point.
I don't know why they won't. We should have did a Trader Joe's podcast.
That would have been kind of fun. Maybe if we lived closer, we could do a food review.
Yeah.
We could do it like every season and get all the seasonal stuff. We could still do that.
Sure.
We could, what's coming? Okay, summer's coming up. Will people want to watch us eating?
So a lot of people do like to watch people eating.
A mukbang, if you will.
I know, is it mukbang or mukbang?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, well, mine are these delicious cookie ice cream sandwiches. And they're pretty big, but like that's not a problem because I have a sweet tooth. So it's the perfect amount for me. And it's vanilla ice cream with chocolate chips on the outside of the ice cream part. And then it's in between 2 chocolate chip cookies. And they are just delicious.
Yum.
And it's the best kind of ice cream sandwich because the ice cream doesn't get too hard.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes that, and then it's,
and you're like,
yeah. And then it's so cold. And yeah, these are so good. So 100% recommend, especially with the weather getting warmer.
fun.
They're a delicious treat.
Yes. Check out Elizabeth Smart's book.
Well, that's a good one.
Because I thought it was a pretty good book. And she has another book, a newer one. And I think it's supposed to be like about life after the trauma or like the situation. I do want to read that one too. So I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to follow us on our socials and YouTube and give us those nice ratings. If you have any ounce of love for us at all, then give us a 5-star and write a nice review.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.